Hello everyone and welcome to this episode of Inside the Naval Postgraduate School. From our campus here in Monterey, California, I'm your host Alan Richmond right here on the Pentagon Channel. Welcome to the show. Well, in this episode we'll visit with the former Chief of Naval Operations and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Admiral Mike Mullen, who's also an NPS alum. We'll visit with our Provost, Dr. Doug Hensler, about his goals for 2014. And finally, we'll wrap things up as we welcome home one of our wounded warriors. But first, here's Admiral Mike Mullen. Michael Mullen is a retired United States Navy admiral who served as the 17th Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff from October 1st, 2007 to September 30th, 2011. He previously served as the Navy's 28th Chief of Naval Operations from July 22, 2005 to September 29, 2007. He was only the third naval officer in Navy history to be appointed to 4 different 4-star assignments, the others being Commander U.S. Naval Forces Europe and Commander Allied Joint Forces Command Naples from October 2004 to May 2005, and as the 32nd Vice Chief of Naval Operations from August 2003 to August 2004. As Chairman, Admiral Mullen was the highest-ranking officer in the United States Armed Forces. He retired from the Navy after 43 years of service. Well, Admiral, thank you very much for taking time to be with us here on Inside NPS on the Pentagon Channel, and welcome home to the Naval Postgraduate School.
Well, it's great to be back, and it does feel like home.
Well, since you're here, Admiral, to speak to our graduating class at the Naval Postgraduate School this morning, I'm wondering if you can tell us what's your overall message to them.
Well, this is a very special institution to me personally, as well as professionally, having graduated from here. And I think it's so important that the quality of education that's given here to so many young people continue to be sustained. I think we're graduating today. There are 21 different countries. There are members from every service. There are a considerable number of civilians from agencies all over the country. So it's a very diverse, focused, relevant education for so many people. And it is a real pleasure for me to be back. If I were going to pick out one single message for the graduates, it's consistent with my discussions with young people for a long time, is figure out how to take this education and lead in the future. This is certainly a significant step, but by no means is it the last step. So, and learning at this level, typically at the master's level, you've developed critical thinking that hopefully will stay with you the rest of your life as you become leaders, and leading wherever you're going, whatever agency, whatever service, back to the fleet, out to sea, back to the Fleet Marine Force, et cetera, is absolutely critical. So that will probably be my major message.
I know through the years when we've spoken, you've always mentioned critical thinking skills as one of the takeaways you had from NPS. I'm wondering if that's included in what you're talking about today.
Well, it was, without any question, and it was almost unknowing at the time, just because you're here for a couple of years, you're working hard in a very difficult curriculum with a high-quality faculty, and at the end of it, when you can step back and reflect a little bit, and then go back out to the fleet or to wherever you're going to go, you find yourself thinking of problems in a different way, in a more wholesome way, creating options, and just sort of deepening how you view possibilities in the future. And also, hopefully, because you've been engaged here with other people, you've also learned to listen a little bit to others' views and integrating those views into solutions of very difficult problems, which are going to continue to be out there.
Well, certainly a lot of our graduates from NPS go on to greater things in life in their careers around the globe. So networking is really a part of what takes place here at NPS when they leave, right?
Yeah, without any question. That the camaraderie, the relationship piece, actually not just with the graduates themselves, because families get tied together in this place. So many of them, young families that have a chance to, quote unquote, come ashore and be in a little more relaxed environment professionally. And those ties and relationships, no matter what community or what service, stay with you an awful long time.
Well, certainly for our students here at NPS, but on a bigger perspective, military in general, family plays a key role in their success.
It isn't possible to achieve what we have been able to achieve, to succeed particularly in these last dozen years when we've been fighting these wars, without the phenomenal family support that's been there. I just marvel and stand back in awe of so many spouses who've raised young children while their husband or wife have been deployed many times over the course of these wars, and they've been incredibly resilient. They've been incredibly supportive, and they've really allowed us to succeed and achieve in the missions that we're so focused on.
Admiral, how important is graduate education?
I think graduate education is absolutely critical. And I'm tied to my own experience, but while I certainly studied as an undergraduate, I didn't have the appreciation because of the focus that a graduate education brings, the faculty, the excellent level of faculty that exists at NPS and other institutions to really, at least in my own case for the first time, really absorb a subject, really penetrate a subject, an area. And it gets back to this just really expanding your mind. And at the same time, I'm reminded that learning is a lifelong requirement. So it doesn't stop here. This is just such an important platform that allows you to learn in ways you hadn't before, and a wonderful stepping stone to continue that learning for the rest of your life. And NPS in particular, I have just found, not just when I was a student, but over the years, so it goes back to the mid-'80s for me, the quality of the faculty, the quality of the curriculum, the dedication of both the faculty and the students to take what is relevant in the academic world, in the research world, and to apply it to real-world problems that we have. That combination is absolutely vital to the future of our military, of in our national security, as well as the institution here itself.
Why do you think that the Naval Postgraduate School stays so relevant to today's military, particularly the Navy?
I think NPS stays so relevant because they work so hard at it. They know that's core to what NPS is, and they do it for each of the services. I mean, today, and you talked about the Navy, and I have another message today is the jointness that has really overtaken us in these wars in a very positive way, and there's almost as many Army graduates today as Navy graduates, and so it applies to all the services, and the relevance of the education, the relevance of the institution in a joint world, and in a way a combined world, a world with so many other countries. I'm also hopeful that the relationships that are established among or between and among graduates from different countries are sustained over decades, because many of the students who are here from other countries will rise to very senior positions in their militaries, and hopefully the relationships that they've developed here will make a difference when they're in much more significant positions of responsibility.
Well, certainly education is important, but also for younger people. I know our STEM program, science, technology, engineering, and math, is a very big push here at NPS.
Well, I think certainly for the military these days, the requirements, the technical requirements are almost a prerequisite for entry. And the focus on science, technology, engineering, and math is certainly fits that requirement. That said, you see throughout our country now a pretty significant shortfall of young people, young boys and girls who have the skills. So I think the emphasis here is absolutely critical. I mean, we need it for the Navy, but more importantly, we need it for the country. And there are initiatives all over the country to emphasize STEM, and certainly NPS. And I know with the quality of faculty, the quality of education, and the skills that are here, that has been very successful, and it's a really critical undertaking for the future. Not just of the military, but I think of our country.
Admiral, I'm wondering how you see today's Navy overall.
I see today's Navy as relevant, deployed. It's been incredibly adaptive over the course of the last decade in these wars to support our forces ashore. From those who actually physically went ashore, the tens of thousands who spent deployed ashore in Iraq and in Afghanistan in very relevant ways, and I'm hopeful that joint experience those sailors that did that will take that back to their commands and remember as they continue in their careers. I think as we come out of these wars, we will bring our ground forces home, and rightfully so. The Marine Corps is going to have to figure out how to get back to sea, because they haven't been to sea generally, certainly in large numbers since these wars started. The Navy Marine Corps team is going to have to do that together, and I think at a time where we bring our ground forces home, our Navy and our Air Force and Marine Corps have to be out and about, and I think our Navy is prepared to do that. One of the things that the story that doesn't get told very often is, while the deployments that our ground forces have sustained have been very significant, the operational tempo for our Navy and for our Air Force has been very, significantly higher than pre-9/11. So you have to achieve that balance. We've got to be able to continue the deployments, be engaged around the world, and at the same time be home often enough to make sure that we're taken care of in terms of our people, as well as the systems that need some downtime to be maintained. So that's a real challenge.
What about tomorrow's Navy?
Yeah, well, hopefully these young lieutenants and lieutenant commanders who are graduating, particularly, obviously they're focused on the Navy, is again, they'll take this education and be able to, and the research that these great professors have brought into the classroom and then generated solutions for real world problems that the students bring when they come here from the fleet. They'll take it back and make the Navy a much better place.
Well, certainly, Admiral, you've had a long and distinguished naval career, and we thank you for your service to our military and to the country in general. I'm just wondering, now that you have come to that end, what about retirement? I can't imagine you'll ever retire.
Well, I certainly don't ever plan on stopping to be engaged and to trying to make a difference. That said, it's a whole lot different when you get to sleep in a little bit and the stress package is dramatically reduced. I've also I got family. I've got kids and grandkids, and my wife Deborah and I, who's been a partner in this endeavor of mine for almost 5 decades. So we spend a lot of time together, and we're trying to make sure that we have that focus and priority on our family as well. I'm doing some public speaking. I'm doing a little bit of consulting. I'm on a couple boards, and it's a good balance for me right now. And hopefully, I'll be able to figure out a way to continue to make a difference. We also spend a lot of time on veterans and their families, and we find that space is very, very broken, very, very difficult. And I worry a great deal that as we come out of these wars, Americans didn't have to buy into these wars from the standpoint of the force being such a small percentage of the American people. I mean, we're less than 1%. And in that regard, I worry about America, which is rightfully tired of these wars, just sort of accelerating away from this all-volunteer force who sacrificed so much. So as these veterans come home, I'm actually very hopeful that community leaders will figure out a way to reach out to them, to get them good jobs with future careers, because they're incredible young people, to make sure that their spouses get good jobs as well, their two-income families, that they're able to improve themselves in education, and that we make sure that they have the right kind of support in the health and medical world.
One final question. To all the military members who are currently serving both at home and overseas, as you look to 2014, what would your message to them be?
Well, I just thank them for all the difference that they make, and that I and so many others in our country don't take it for granted. You're a very, very special group of people that have made such a difference, and certainly my focus is always on those in harm's way, some 40 to 50,000 that are still in Afghanistan, and yet over the holidays we probably had a couple 100,000 deployed around the world from all the services. And that we couldn't be the country we are without you doing what you do, and we appreciate that, and we'll never forget it.
Once again, Admiral, thank you very much for taking time to be with us here on the Pentagon Channel and to visit us again at the Naval Postgraduate School, your alma mater. Thank you.
Thanks. It's great to be with you.
Well, special thanks for Admiral Mullen for taking time to come home to visit us here at the Naval Postgraduate School. Well, stay with us. There's more to come as we visit with the Provost at NPS right after this break on Inside NPS. Well, as we begin the new year, we thought we might take a moment to visit with our provost here at the Naval Postgraduate School, Dr. Doug Hensler, on his academic goals for 2014. Dr. Douglas Hensler became the Naval Postgraduate School Provost in June of 2013. Since 2008, Dr. Hensler was the Dean of the W. Frank Barton School of Business at Wichita State University. The Barton School of Business is the leading business school in Kansas, placing most of its graduates in international businesses, innovative organizations, and state-of-the-art industries. Prior to WSU, Dr. Hensler served as Dean and Sid Craig Endowed Dean's Chair in the Craig School of Business at California State University in Fresno for 3 years. For 8 years prior to that, Dr. Hensler served at the University of Colorado at Boulder as the W. Edwards Deming Distinguished Professor of Management, a joint appointment of the College of Engineering and Applied Science and the Leeds School of Business. He also served as co-executive director of the Robert H. and Beverly A. Deming Center for Entrepreneurship. Dr. Hensler has traveled extensively and built a network of international contacts and partnerships. Before returning to the academic community, Dr. Hensler achieved a highly successful management career that includes 13 years in project, staff, and line management positions at 2 technology-driven companies. Well, Doug, welcome to the show. Let's start out by talking a little bit about your goals for the coming new year for NPS.
Gosh, it's really multifaceted. We have had some attrition, and with that and the hard hiring freeze, we really are getting stretched, and so we need to address that fairly quickly. As you know, we have a world-class faculty here, and even though we've had some attrition, I think given the pressures and constraints that have been on the entire Defense Department, travel restrictions, hiring freezes, sequestration, furloughs, shutdown, all of that kind of stuff puts real strain on any kind of organization. And I think the thing that's so remarkable is how resilient our faculty and staff are to this, and how they are wedded to our mission. And that really comes first, and our mission is the students. And for our faculty, the students come first.
Well, certainly with the defense budget cuts, it's not just limited to NPS. This is really kind of a total picture, isn't it?
Well, it's important to keep that in mind. It's also important to keep in mind that the different kinds of extraordinary constraints that are imposing on us actually are not sourced in the same spot. So it's not like there's some entity trying to squeeze in on us. It's just a number of these little pieces get put together, and it does increase the burden on the institution. So, I mean, we certainly are looking forward to the day when some of these things get relieved, and they will in time.
Well, certainly we have a world-class faculty, but the relationship between the students and the faculty is really a special one, isn't it?
It's really amazing, to use a term that the new president, Admiral Rout, has used. It's the convergence of students coming here out of combat, many of them, and having experienced the challenges and problems out there, and then converging with this world-class faculty for the solution of those problems. The value that NPS creates, and this comes from that perspective that you mentioned, having been in business and in the civilian university sector, the value creation here is just extraordinary. Every time I go to a briefing regarding some of the work that the students are doing or some of the work that the faculty are doing, and usually that's together, I'm just absolutely blown away, Alan, by the value creation. And if you go back and you accumulate all the value creation that's taken place at NPS, from my financial background, it makes me say, well, NPS is free. It's already way paid for itself. So yes, we get an allocation every year, but the savings in dollars, to say nothing about the savings in lives that have already been put down by NPS, I think is just remarkable. And that's why I say NPS is actually free right now.
Well, we're looking ahead to the year 2014, but at the end of next year, when we look back, what's the one thing that you hope we can talk about that you accomplished?
That we, and some of this is out of my control, but that a year from now that we are back in the swing, but also that we have really strong business processes. We are missing those things in some areas. So, and that's part of why I was brought on board, was to bring that sort of business enterprise sense about the way we do our work. And there's a very strong systems orientation to that we need to continue to build into our systems. And that will have another effect, and that is a cultural change. There is a cultural change that we want to go through here at NPS. And when we get to the end of those two, when those converge and come together, we'll actually have a much stronger sense about who we are, which is already strong now, and a lot of confidence about what we're doing. I think the things that have occurred here have some people, maybe all of us to some extent, a little bit hesitant in terms of our decision making because we just want to do things right.
Well, it's certainly a pleasure to have you leading the charge on the academic side here at NPS.
It's just great to be here at NPS, Alan. It's a phenomenal institution. The students are the best students in the world, and we're here for the students. That's what's important to us.
Well, thanks very much for the Provost for outlining his goals for this new year. Well, stay with us. There's more to come on Inside NPS here on the Pentagon Channel. And by the way, if you'd like to follow NPS, here's how. You know, you can get the latest news and information on the Naval Postgraduate School as it happens through the university's official Twitter site. Follow NPS and stay connected and stay informed at twitter.com/NPS Monterey. Welcome back to the show. Well, the Wounded Warrior Program is certainly one that's important to all of us. And recently at the Naval Postgraduate School, we had the pleasure and the great honor of welcoming home one of our wounded warriors. Army Sergeant Brian Juergens and his family are welcomed home to their new home. By countless community members and volunteers, including a large contingent from both the Naval Postgraduate School and the Defense Language Institute Foreign Language Center during a ribbon-cutting ceremony in nearby Hollister last month.
1, 2, 3, do it.
Homes for Our Troops is the organization that built the house for us, and so they build houses all over the country for severely wounded veterans, and they're great. I mean, obviously they gave us like the best gift.
This is our typical bathroom. You know, he can bring the lift in. He can get into the shower. He can come in if he wants to sit in the jet tub and relax a little while. You can bring him from the bed to the toilet, to the shower, to the tub.
Well, the kitchen is accessible now, so Brian can, make himself food, and I don't feel like I have to be here so much. I can go out and run errands, and I don't have to worry about him getting hungry at home. And the bathroom is accessible. He can, get in the shower easily, and doesn't have to worry about climbing over a tub to get in, and everything. I mean, everything. You name it, it's accessible. The doors, they open, they're automatic.
Volunteers working in conjunction with national nonprofit Homes for Our Troops built a new home for Juergens, who was recently medically retired after suffering combat injuries in Afghanistan.
My memory is perfect about Afghanistan, but when I got injured, I was working at Special Forces, that kind of deal, and I remember everything but multiple vehicles drove over the same bomb, but it never blew up, didn't hurt anybody, no problem, And it just wasn't until I drove over it, and then of course it exploded.
U.S. Army Major Alex Williams, a student at the Defense Analysis Program, coordinated much of the NPS volunteer effort. Well, that's it for this edition of Inside the Naval Postgraduate School right here on the Pentagon Channel. I'm your host, Alan Richmond. We'll see you next time. Take care.